Family criticizes my wife's need for her assistant's dog, making her feel unwelcome, causing me to confront my sister about her constant questioning. My wife and I live in a different state to my family. However, we often travel back to my home state for special family occasions, birthdays and Christmas for example. My wife is a 22-year military veteran, and when she discharged it was medically. She has been diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety and depression, and has spent several stints in psychiatric hospital, one for 4 months. She was prescribed an assistance, service, dog who we have trained up under the supervision of a registered organization, and she, we'll call her Daisy, is formally qualified and papered. She goes pretty much wherever we go, including interstate flying in the cabin of the plane, with my wife in an ambulance to hospital, and also was interned with her at psychiatric units. My family are all aware of this and mostly supportive. However, the last time we visited for my niece's 21st birthday, I was questioned by both my sister and my niece about whether Daisy was accompanying my wife to the party, which I responded that she was, as my wife really struggles in loud crowded environments. There was about 80 people and loud music together in one room. My niece suggested several reasons why Daisy shouldn't go: loud music, balloons, lots of people. Which I assured her Daisy was fine with, and they already know this, being very familiar with Daisy's very calm temperament. My sister then spoke to me after my niece and also said similar things, not outright saying, but heavily suggesting it would be better if Daisy didn't attend. I just said if my wife feels she needs her, she will be attending. Sometimes my wife has been able to do small things without her, but never big events like parties, even shopping centers and restaurants. Daisy comes with her. Anyway, the party came and went. My wife had to take 4 Valium to cope, but managed to sit through the evening with Daisy by her side at her feet at a table. Other people throughout the evening went over to talk to her, and most didn't even notice Daisy was there. For myself, I'm used to my wife's conditions and knew that although she was struggling, she was coping and even enjoying talking to people at times. I danced the night away, periodically sitting down beside my wife and checking in. After the party was over, we had a few days at my sister's house where the topic of her son's impending wedding came up. Again, I was asked by my sister if my wife would be taking Daisy. I again said yes, more than likely, for the same reasons as the 21. Lots of people, loud noises, crowded environment. Again, it was inferred that the event wouldn't be suitable for Daisy. The tables were really crowded, lots of people, plus my sister suggested that if my wife didn't have Daisy she would be able to get up and dance. Before my wife had her breakdown, she was not a dancer, and now with her anxiety, there's no way she'd be comfortable out on a dance floor. I was so taken aback I didn't know how to respond. My wife heard my sister talking to me, and so she suggested she only go to the ceremony and skip the reception to avoid my sister getting stressed out about her dog. My sister snapped they are at the same venue. Then softened it with, of course we want you to come. Both my wife and I felt very uncomfortable and kept reassuring my sister Daisy would be fine, as she has been taught to sit under my wife's chair out of the way. It felt like the concerns raised weren't genuine concerns but just a way to feel like Daisy was unwelcome. We flew back home not long after, and this is where I may be TA. We woke up the next morning and the first words out of my wife's mouth were maybe and should just stay home for the wedding and you go by yourself so I don't stress your sister out by taking Daisy. I felt so bad for her. It's taken such a long time for her to feel comfortable in going out in public. And Daisy has been instrumental in that, and now my family were making her feel like she wasn't welcome with her assistant's dog. I reassured her, but later in the day I rang my sister and told her what my wife had said, and that perhaps more care could be taken to make sure my wife wasn't left feeling that her conditions were not considered. I told her my wife had said perhaps she shouldn't go to avoid stressing her out, and my sister just said yes, and? To which I replied that she had been prescribed a dog for a reason, and without her dog my wife would likely not go anywhere, like she used to. My wife said well, she was better last time she was down, she didn't take her everywhere. I explained that mental health goes up and down. Last time she was doing a bit better, however she'd just been sick and was put on medication that messed with her regular meds, and so was only just coming out of that. Also, I reminded my sister the last time we didn't really go out apart from to a restaurant, to which Daisy also came. I just feel like I'm constantly trying to prove my wife's medical conditions. Even her PTSD has been questioned, as, my sister's words, she didn't go to Afghanistan. She even had her best friend question me about it. I'm tempted to tell them some of my wife's horror stories, but I just keep it general so they don't get secondhand trauma. My sister also said that she had to think about other people, and I said why? Does someone have a problem with Daisy attending? And she said her son, my nephew, and his future wife had spoken to her about it. I said well, I'll ring them then, which she hastily replied, no you can't, they spoke to me in confidence. I said I just don't understand what you're trying to achieve, and she said it's not just about you, I have to think of other people. I said well, you wouldn't be asking Nana if she was bring her wheelie walker, and she said actually Nana might be in a wheelchair so I'll have to put her at the end of the table. To which I snapped and said yes, but you wouldn't tell her she's not allowed to bring her wheelchair. And she replied, I didn't say you couldn't bring Daisy. I said back that it was disingenuous to pretend that your questions aren't designed to make us feel like she shouldn't be coming. To which she replied that she couldn't handle this stress I was causing her, and she said goodbye and hung up. So Ada for calling my sister out on all her questions regarding my wife's assistant's dog? Am I too sensitive, like my sister said? Update 1. Firstly, A few clarifications. 1. I am a woman, it's a same-sex marriage so I'm not her husband but her wife. 2. Her Valium is only 2 milligrams, she took 4 that night which is 8 milligrams, which means she was nowhere near whacked out of mind like some suggested. She has 5 milligrams tablets as well but prefers to titrate the dose herself in 2 milligrams increments for precisely that reason. 3. Yes, I was up dancing the night away, and this does not make me a monster, we rarely go out, and when we do my wife loves seeing me enjoy myself and letting my hair down, as much of my life is in service to her and her conditions. She gets enjoyment from me having fun too. Plus the dance floor was like 3 meters from where she was sitting and I could see her watching me and smiling. 4. Please refrain from calling my sister nasty names, yes she is out of line here but she, and her kids, are my only immediate family and are very important to me. Going NC would hurt me as much as her. Anyway, for the update. I rang my nephew and asked him if he and his bride had a problem with Daisy accompanying my wife to their wedding as my sister was suggesting they did. I said that while my sister hadn't directly said Daisy couldn't go, it was being heavily implied that she wasn't welcome. My nephew seemed kind of confused initially and didn't really answer the question other than to say he hadn't really thought about it. I wondered then if he was being cagey so I asked him, for his total honesty and he said that when he spoke to his mom. Then he stopped and said actually, Mom spoke to me he also told her he hadn't thought about it. He then said he hadn't even asked his fiancée yet. I told him my anxiety was really high over this and I just needed to know how he felt, and he said, I guess I just assumed Daisy would be going with your wife, as they're kind of a package deal. I got quite emotional hearing this, and he told me not to worry, that everything must have been blown out of proportion, and so long as my wife was okay. He's always been a really caring kid which is why I had my suspicions that my sister wasn't being totally honest. Anyway we chatted some more, he told me to stop crying otherwise he'd cry at work and all his mates would laugh at him, which made me laugh. He said he'd ring his mom, so I guess shit is going to hit the fan. I have several stress-related conditions because of what I've been through keeping my wife alive so I really struggle these days with anxiety. I have Minoka and have had a heart attack in the past from stress, to Castubo. I've been having really bad chest pain from this and stomach upset so although I was tempted to tell my nephew not to call his mom, I need a resolution one way or another. The limbo is too difficult to manage. So I guess there will be another update. Thank you so much for your considered reply and your service too. My wife is on medication that helps, it's taken a few years to get it right, and she sees a psychiatrist and psychologist every fortnight, and is linked in with other VA services. She has also given up alcohol, she drinks 0% beers now which she says are great, and she undertakes an exercise program. It's taken a long time and a ton of effort of her behalf to get to this point, and a lot of input and help from me. That's why I'm so protective of her, I know the hell she has been through to get to the point where she can even consider going to big event. Everyone else just thinks she's fine. I still see her nightmares at night, her sitting in the car willing the courage to get out with Daisy at the shops, her anxiety rising in crowds, her bad days in the privacy at home, etc. etc. You know the story. I've tried to encourage her to link up with other veterans but she finds some people too triggering, and we've had a couple of instances where vets have been inappropriate, because they are unwell. She may consider it again but right now she keeps her bubble small. Thank you for your kind words, I'm not the perfect partner all the time but I do give it 100% effort that's for sure. She deserves it. And so do you. My wife has had a seizure in the past from PTSD nightmares, but it was only once. My sister knows she's been hospitalized, she's seen her not be able to get out of bed for days with migraines. But it seems when my wife is functioning better, that is all forgotten. My wife is very good at hiding her illnesses too, years of being in the military teaches you that. But I don't think it's specific to my wife. When I was in hospital with a perforated bowel I felt that was minimized by my sister too. Unless it's happened to her she seems to struggle to empathize at times. But is very caring sometimes too. It's really confusing. My sister is a very complicated person. She has suffered the trauma of losing my mom, like I did, quite young, and her death was quite horrific. My sister has very bad anxiety and I guess that's where the extreme need for control comes from too. I have control issues too, although not to the same degree, and I work really hard on letting go. My sister seems to be get her worse, but she won't recognize the problem, and won't get help. And no one, apart from me, occasionally, stands up to her. My niece tries to but it doesn't go well at all. Now second story, girlfriend received flowers from her ex on her birthday despite specifically telling me not to get her flowers, now she's accusing me of not trusting her. I, 22M, was on the phone with my girlfriend, 24F, the evening before her birthday. At around 12:30 a.m. on the morning of her birthday, she received flowers, not from me, I was specifically told by her to not get her flowers on her birthday, after which she brought them in, asked if I was still on the phone, then said she was going to bed. When I asked who they were from she said she hadn't read the card yet. Later that day, when we were talking I brought up how this made me uncomfortable. She went into how I do not trust her and how that is not okay. When the question of if she kept the flowers came up she mentioned she did and has them in a vase, and will absolutely not be getting rid of them. What should I do about this? Edit for clarity, I did not ask her to throw them out, Her reply was in response to my asking if she kept them. The ex did deliver them. Ex and her have had some contact, but I am only told about work-related things. Edit 2. For clarity, to my understanding, the ex dropped them off but he was not present when she opened the door and saw them. Her justification for not knowing who they were from was that the note was signed with the initials of a name he used to be called by her sister's friends, for example HF. After bringing it up, she ended the conversation with something to the extent of, "I want tomorrow to be about me, so if you can't do that, let's wait to talk until the weekend." Ultimately I decided to put it on hold and let her birthday pass and then deal with it. I sent her a very lengthy and sweet birthday message / 5 to 6 lines on IMS, to which I received a simple, "Thank you." After she replied, I gave her a call offering to grab her something from her favorite breakfast spot, and I was told she didn't want it and that she was going to go back to sleep. After this, I felt like she did not want to interact with me that day, so I did not push any further. Later she texted me, quite upset that I had not made any effort for her that day. Later that night we had a FaceTime, and I wanted to listen to why she felt the way she did, apologize for the way things turned out, and attempt to explain why I did what I did. Today I received a lengthy chain of texts saying how she was talking to her sister and she thinks I am trying to manipulate her. And basically explain how she felt like I tried to blame her for the way things turned out. I don't want this to be the case. I don't want it to feel like I'm blaming her for anything when I try to talk about why I felt the way I did. I've apologized and acknowledged that I misinterpreted her desires. Even aside from the flower thing, what are some ways to talk to people about your feelings without making it seem like you're blaming them? I also tried to take her out in the evening, which she did not want to do, and rather decided to have a discussion about things, which is why the flowers got brought back up. Edit 3, we are going to have a talk tomorrow. We'll update after. Update 1. We have had our talk, and I ended things. I approached the breakup from the perspective of not being compatible with our methods of communication. I wanted to keep it as civil as possible, as we are part of some small circles in terms of career and friends, so I'd like to maintain a solid perception. At some points, she tried to take it in the direction of an argument. However, I just made it very clear I was not here to argue or work anything out, and that I felt like we would not be able to handle disagreements well in the future, so it was best to call things off. I appreciate all the comments and replies. I felt the way many of you had iterated, manipulated, gaslit, emotionally invalidated, etc., but I tried my best to not bias the updates with those emotions, to try to get as neutral of opinions as possible. Honestly, right now I just feel relieved, which I think is very telling. Update 2. I did not include this in the original post because I was so emotionally drained at that point, and did not feel like typing it out again. Had told other close friends over text, but I think the thing that really sealed it beyond belief was how she responded to my last attempt to try and make things better. On the day she spoke to her sister, I responded to the manipulation text with something to the extent of, "I see you and I hear what you are saying. I had no intention of making you feel that way and I'm sorry that I did." To which she responded that she's sorry, that I did, too, and that she was going to go nap. Later that day I texted to ask if she was free, and after 3 hours I basically got a no, but I could drop some stuff off. At this point I had been running out while she was not responding and gathering all of her favorite foods and treats along with writing a card. After I gave it to her I went back and was texted things along these lines. "If you want the pastries, please take them back. I'm so confused. Was this supposed to make anything better? You hardly looked at me." At this point, I was pretty much done and replied with something like, "I know I'm not perfect, but I'm not going to be told I'm not trying when I am, and when I try to do something I can't have it where only the things I did wrong are acknowledged." At this point, she finally made some attempt to be understanding, saying, "Thank you for the gifts," and that she didn't say I wasn't trying. To me it seemed like I only got that response because it seemed like I was finally done. In any case, it is over now, and time to move on. I don't think she physically cheated as many in the comments do. However, at this point, I do not care. All I hope is that I better know what to look for next time and find someone that works better for me personally. Thank you to everyone for the advice and for listening to me and my problems. I hope everyone here has a wonderful day. Commenter, who delivers flowers at 12:30 a.m.? Ex-boyfriends, that's who. Commenter, I'm assuming the ex hand delivered them, as deliveries don't occur at 12:30 a.m. Then she just went to bed? Seems shady. I wonder if he spent the night. Also, why would she specifically tell you not to buy flowers? I don't know, but I do know I don't like it. Proceed with caution. Commenter, she went straight to attack mode when you said it makes you uncomfortable. Another commenter replied, "Yeah, I get Darvo vibes from this, and the edits only make it more obvious." She's deflecting by accusing him of not trusting her, then by creating some separate drama by sending mixed messages about her birthday. Then she's attacked him about not making effort for her birthday, and reversed victim and offender by accusing him of being a manipulator. If this is who she is, then Op should back away slowly and leave her to the ex-boyfriend. If Op stays, then he's in for a roller coaster of drama with a rough landing at the end. Update 3. Before I get started, yes, I already know I am an idiot and should have never gotten back with this girl. TLDR, about 4 months ago I made a post about a situation I was in with my now ex involving her getting flowers from an ex hand delivered at midnight on her birthday. There were a number of gaslighty/manipulative things that went on, and ultimately I called the relationship off because of that. About a week later we talked and she took accountability for everything and apologized. I decided to give her a second chance. I didn't update my post at the time because I was embarrassed at my lack of self-respect. I wish I never would have done this. She hit me. We are now broken up again, and despite her best efforts, there will be no more chances. Even I cannot come back after that. Honestly, I am kinda a mess emotionally right now. She hit me in my bed and I haven't been able to get a good night's sleep since then. I think about the hit every time I go to sleep. We are both PhD students and work in the same building. I don't want to come in for meetings or to work because I fear I might see her. Somehow this situation is never ending. She told her friends, who I am also friends with, that she hit me by accident. However, after she hit me she said she could never forgive me if I did that to her, and sent me a text saying she'd understand whatever I decide to do and should have never ever done that, and that she ruined our relationship. Yet when it came time to break up that evening she believed in the 3-strike rule and was upset that she felt she messes up once and it's over. This is all really messing with my head. Now all I can think is what if it was an accident, but also her response doesn't line up with that. I feel like I have to prove to my friends that I was abused and that I'm not overreacting. In any case, it just sucks. For those of you out there, if you leave a toxic situation, stay gone. There is nothing to be gained by going back. Also, while I don't think it matters, the reason she hit me goes as follows. We are taking the same course, and I have been consistently scoring lower on assignments with the same solutions. The same thing had been happening to another friend in the class. However, my ex always got full points. We emailed the grader and eventually got our grades corrected, so we were right to be upset and did not have the correct solutions. My ex types her solutions up, and I believe that plays a major role in why she always gets more credit. Solutions are just easier to read. In any case, I had been exploring using large language models to convert my handwritten text to typed, and it had some success. I made an attempted joke in bed saying something along the lines of, now the grader is just gonna look at my typed solutions and give me credit. Then she hit me and began yelling how she works hard too and I'm diminishing her work. I see how the joke could be taken that way even though it wasn't my intent. It wasn't until after I apologized and calmed her down that she did for hitting me. Commenter, even if her hitting, gee, you were just an accident, it seems like that incident was just the straw that broke the camel's back for you, and that you had other growing concerns and feelings about the relationship. I feel like I have to prove to my friends that I was abused and that I'm not overreacting. You don't. A healthy relationship is one where either party should be free to leave for any reason. Even I just don't have romantic feelings anymore is a valid reason to end things. The most that you have to do is simply continue being a good friend to them. If they ask you questions, it's your call whether you want to get into details, but I'd recommend sticking to facts. Commenter, stay on that PhD grind. Don't let a shitty relationship result in you imploding a good thing that doesn't have to suffer. You don't have to prove shit to anyone else. If they dismiss your truth, they aren't a healthy person for you. Better to learn a lesson late than never. It's rarely just one thing that results in a breakup. This was just the final thing. Commenter, if you're getting hit and you end up apologizing for it, you're being abused. Commenter, ah yes, the 3-strike rule when it comes to abuse. The audacity of this girl, holy shit. Commenter, 1. Good for you for walking away from that dumpster fire. 2. Anyone who brings up anything about y'all's relationship demise, just look at them and say it's over and I'm not participating in any of the drama anyone is trying to suck me into. They'll move on from it. 3. Don't let her presence there affect your PhD goals or comfort levels, etc. You're not the toxic one walking into the place, she is. Hold your head high and just ignore her existence.